Looks like it's good to go. YouTube, hello in YouTube land and also on the Mac Geek Gab live stream. Good. Now I can put those back over there. Put these back over here. Oh, wait, no. Oh, I was doing the wrong thing. Oh, no. Oh, no, I had the right thing. I just need to pay more attention. There we go. Okay.
And it's lightly snowing.
Yeah, it like the reports for snow today here are varied. Like the forecast that I see says we're going to get an inch now, which is down from like 3, but all the winter weather warnings say we're going to get like 5. I think the reality is nobody knows. Okay. Bum. Okie dokie.
There we are.
Here we are. There we are. The time has come, the walrus said, to speak of many things. No, that's not it. Charging station. Oh, where? Come on. I don't like that. Gosh dang it. See how I'm making sure I don't say bad words. That one. I'm going to put this in the show notes. Oh, come on. Stop yelling at me. All right. We're just getting the show together here, folks. How's everybody this morning? I guess I need to send out the notification. Let me get this right first. Okay. Right. Okay, good. All righty. Yeah, notifications. I know how to do this. I need to go through my punch list, don't I? Well, you know.
Who are you going to punch?
I'm not going to punch anybody. I'm not really a violent type of.
Yeah, some people need a punch in the face every now and then.
Well, I mean, I think that's true of all of us, John. Like, I think there's moments at which we all sort of could stand to have somebody smack us upside the head, but I'm not the one that does the smacking, at least not in a physical way. V56. It's just not my style, you know. Not to say that there aren't moments in life where I don't deserve one, but you know. Okay. I think I sent out the notification. We'll see if it appears. Yep, there it goes. And now I can take off my watch. Because if I don't take it off, then I'll be distracted by it for the whole show. That's very terrible. Hey, Dr. Dream, thank you for the notification of the bat signal's arrival. Good morning, Michael Ehrman. You're awake. I'm awake. Man, normally on Sunday mornings, I'm up like before 8 a.m. It's just like normal, you know. And hey, Alan 567. And this morning, man, when my time to make the podcast alarm, which is set for Sundays at 8:49 a.m., or 8:47 maybe, I don't know. When that went off, man, it was like it rocked my world. I was fast asleep. And I was like, oh my goodness, I guess it's time. Time to make the podcast. That's what I named my alarm, John.
Well, I woke up Sunday morning with no way to hold my head that didn't hurt.
Is that Johnny Cash tune?
And the beer I had for breakfast wasn't bad, so I had one more for dessert. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we played that once. Sunday morning coming down.
That's it. Yeah. Morning, Dave Ginsburg. Morning, Petter Hall. What if I do that? That's probably better. Okay.
Hey.
Start a new routine. When the geeks are recording live, I will go for a long Sunday walk. That's excellent. I like that. I was thinking I would like to go for like a walk or a hike today, but I think it's going to be snowing more than I would care to be hiking in when we finish the show today. So, big plans to watch the Super Bowl, John? Hosting a Super Bowl super spreader party or something?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I invited the whole neighborhood.
Yeah, that's good. Better even to invite like a neighbor, like neighbors from lots of different places, though, if you want to get your super spreader party.
Yeah. No. I mean, I'll probably watch it.
Yeah.
Tweet about it, which is what I've usually done in the past.
It'll be Lisa and me here at the house. That's the party. That's the party we're having today. So, Yep. I do feel fortunate though. Like what was I saying? Oh, I still haven't like gone out to eat indoors. I mean, it's obviously my choice, but I also understand that there have been no like patterns of spread of this thing with restaurants that are following all the guidelines. I've just chosen not to. But I was thinking the other day, like, you know, living here in a college town that happens to be one of the very few schools which are doing twice weekly surveillance testing of the student population. Like if I were to eat indoors in a restaurant, I would actually rather do it in my college town where, you know, 80% of the people in there are being tested once or maybe twice a week. So, but I still haven't. Maybe in a couple of weeks. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Our positivity rate has been going down.
That's good.
Probably because people are getting the jab, as they call it.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good.
The big game. Yep. The big game.
Yeah, that's right. It's interesting. All the press releases we get about people doing like stuff for the Super Bowl or like, you know, you could watch the Super Bowl on our app or anything. They all say, but you have to call it the big game. And it's like, actually, no. You have to call it the big game. We're the press. We actually get to call it by its name, the Super Bowl. So I'm, you know, we're allowed to say that, you know, company A, and I say company A because I can't think of one off the top of my head, but you know, like a couple of years ago when Sonos had like some thing that they were doing to integrate with the game, or TiVo when they did the reverse commercial skip version of the Super Bowl for the first time. Where if you TiVo the Super Bowl, and I think this is happening this year, but it certainly was true in years past. If you TiVo the Super Bowl, you can watch it after the fact and it will skip the game, but not the commercials. And so they're like, but you have to refer to it as the big game if you write an article about it or talk about it. I'm like, no, that's the beauty of our job here is we don't have to do that. Like in TiVo's press releases, they can't say the Super Bowl, but we can say the Super Bowl all we want. Like we're not, you know, that's what it's called.
Yeah.
You know, we're not branding ourselves with it. We're just.
Well, this was the first year when I used to search for it to record it on the TiVo.
Yeah.
It wouldn't list it as the Super Bowl. It would list it as like NFL, whatever versus whatever.
Yeah.
But this year I searched for Super Bowl and it came right up. So,
really? Let me look. Let me pull up.
Yeah, they named it oddly in the past.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. I'm curious actually if my TiVo is. I hate that the app logs me out constantly. That's infuriating, John.
Yeah. Well, their Netflix app is kind of weird. I'll be binging something and I'll pause it and then I'll come back and like it doesn't resume, so I have to like go to the main TiVo screen and like run it again.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, the apps on TiVo, even like their Plex app is like, it's not great. Okay, so I happen to be recording NFL football, Kansas City Chiefs at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But let's see, modify recording options. I think I want to start recording early. Okay. But I also, it seems like TiVo is getting Football Americano de la NFL. So I think I'll get rid of that. I don't need both of these. I especially don't want that one. I don't need to be. Well, maybe it would be good. We watched one football game with the Spanish audio once because we were in Mexico and sitting in a like poolside bar or something. But all right. Okay. Yeah, so mine. Okay, so let's see what happens now that we're here. Super Bowl go. If I tell it I want to record the Super Bowl, what happens? Yeah, look at that. Comes right up.
Neat.
Yep.
Baseball been very, very good to me.
What movie is that from?
Yeah, Saturday Night Live. One of the characters.
Okay. All right. Anyway, hey folks, how you doing? All right. Good.
What else? I think the same guy. Our top story tonight.
All right.
They would have for the hearing impaired, and
oh yeah, that's right.
Just screaming it.
Yeah. Yeah. I forgot about that.
Probably should have signed it, but yeah.
Well, yeah. Oh, did you send out the tweet?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Of course.
I need to go like retweet it, which I hadn't done.
Yeah, I'll do it later. I gotta reinstall my Twitter client here.
So boom. Okay. Oh, come on. You were going to charge. Freaking, oh man. All right. Anyway, let's go through the agenda, shall we? Get this pregame show underway as it were, to go with the.
Okay, quick tips. That's good. I guess I think I know what you're going to talk about there.
Well, one of the things I'm going to talk about, and then I've unintentionally created a problem for myself. I am always to blame, but I'll share my issues with you.
Oh, what did I see? Who tweeted this? I was like up late last night, and Mac Observer tweeted 11.2 is out, and I'm like, well, that's been the case for a while. Why? Oh, did something auto generate that?
Well,
I just thought it was weird.
No, if you look, we take articles and retweet the article several times because not everybody. I mean, people don't see everything from everybody they follow in their stream, so we tweet articles at different times of day.
It wasn't it didn't link to an article though. It was just like a statement.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It should have linked to an article. Sir, and I'm like, so
it should have linked to an article. Yeah. Yeah. Normally it's just we phase them out. We do them 2 or 3 times so that because people.
No, I know that's yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I see everything. Oh, maybe the Twitter client proper doesn't show you everything. Right?
I don't.
And it
when I launch
the order
Twitter,
and stuff like that.
When I launch Twitter, I don't go back and look at everything from everybody I follow. Do you?
Usually, yeah.
Oh, you're the anomaly. Most people just look at Twitter as the river flowing by, and when they're not looking, the river continues to flow by. So most people don't see everything that you are. That's how do you keep up with that? I feel like you might find more productive uses of your time, like answering more Mac Geek Gab questions.
Good point.
All right. Cool stuff's found.
Yep. Good. Yep, heard about that. Okay, so room. Yeah, okay. Yeah, room.
It's pretty. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
Isn't it high def audio or something? They claim.
Yes, that's one of the things it does. But it also is just a kind of an open source audio management engine. It's hard to describe what it is. But yeah, I'd never heard it. Had you heard about it before? I never knew about it.
Nope.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. All right. So let's go.
All right. Request. Yeah.
I'm going to move that down a little bit. Yeah.
And then Rand. Yeah. When I followed up with him, I found. There are a couple of questions there. Okay. Gary. Yeah. That's.
It's unfortunate.
If he had a later one, it probably would have been okay because I don't think the 6 was advertised as being liquid proof.
It wasn't sealed. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Wasn't the 7 the one that started that?
I think you're right.
Yes. Unofficially, I think the 7 was.
I believe that's correct. Yes.
And then the 8, they explicitly say, yes, it's water resistant, I guess. So that's.
Yeah. Oh, that's totally. So you're totally right. Yep.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right, iPhone. Yeah, I've done that before. Carrot. Yeah. I think they changed something big, sir, as far as that's concerned.
Okay.
Right?
I don't know. Could be.
Yeah. He says he wasn't seeing it, and I'm like, no.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but there's a few places that you can set that up, and apparently when he upgraded, it got unset up. So, all right, Bruce. Yeah, that I couldn't recreate it, so we'll see. Uninstalling. Yep.
Yeah, but you found a cool thing of the list of exclusions for Time Machine. I thought that was sort of the money shot of that one. So,
yes, I mean, the guidance. It's possible that somebody screwed around with that, which is mean, but yeah, it's not standard behavior because I couldn't make it happen.
Right.
All right, come together. All right, and then Wi-Fi. Start rolling your vibe. Yeah. Help my. Oh yeah, I guess they're still out there. Arrows just. Yeah, I get great Wi-Fi speeds when I was out and about.
It's good.
Yeah, I had the 5G thing light up the other day, and it was like terrible. Well, I think what I have is narrow band. I think is what it's called. Someone in my feed was mentioning that.
Okay.
And then there's the millimeter wave, which I guess is the faster, but doesn't go as far, I guess. All right, can I mesh? Sure, why not? Parallels, yeah, right. Purging, yeah.
Good.
Any way you want, man.
Any way you want it, that's the way. Okay. Wow. I'm raspy this morning.
Consolidate. I thought, there's something that does that thing. Oh, yeah. Well, we won't get there. I don't think that.
Maybe that's my problem today. Maybe I'm just. I'm just dehydrated. What? That actually would make sense. All right. Cool. All right. Sweet. Let's see. Is there anything else we need to do? Hey, Brian Monroe. Hey, Pooter. I saw you before, Alan 567. What's happening? Bill in Louisiana. Brian 8944. Dice Man. Don T. Eric DSA. MG. Paul Franz. Perry. PJ. Vegas. Warren. Nice to see everybody.
No, Budweiser. Oh man.
Yeah, they said they're spending their money on getting everybody vaccinated and not spending their money on Super Bowl commercials. But Well, it seems altruistic, and I mean, it's a good thing. I think.
Yeah.
But it also is the fastest path to getting bars back open and selling more Budweiser. So
Right.
let us not lose sight of the whole picture. It doesn't mean that any one part of the picture negates the other. It just means that there is a whole picture. Yeah. Quick, get the bars open as quick as we can. So, hey, it serves the greater good. I'm all for it. I have no complaints about this.
All right.
Yeah, let me find a song here. Yeah, it'll be this one today. I got to put more songs in here. Where am I here? Not that one. That's not what I wanted to mess with. That's the one I wanted to mess with. All right, we'll be right back.
Where's the answer? It's not in her eyes, in her
right. Sweet. Okay. Let's see. Is Mr. Braun back? Not yet. We'll hear him. He'll be there. He'll make it. All right. Let's see. How is YouTube looking? Hey, all. Hey, Martin Brooks. Hey, Larry Charon. I don't always get to look at the YouTube comments. It's only because the YouTube stream is also streamed to live.macgeekgab.com. So, like that would actually be a better place. But no, it's fine. I mean, your comments are fine. You just have more people to interact with, I guess, is the reality if you go to live.macgeekgab.com. So, yeah, there we are. There we are. No matter where we go, there we are. Here's all over the place. Okay. Oh, that's interesting, Brian Monroe. I did not realize that. Interesting that the Chrome extension only works on PCs, not on Macs. Huh. I suppose I shouldn't be surprised. So, yeah. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I can only do so much multitasking. Yeah, there's no such thing as multitasking, at least not for this particular human. It's, spotlighting, because really what's happening is my attention is being focused on only one thing at a time. And so I try not to multitask, but there you go. I don't think so, Warren, does it? Does Chrome use the Mac keychain? I didn't think so. I thought Chrome used its own keychain. Am I wrong about that? I could be. I don't know. I didn't think so. There he is. The man of the hour. Ladies and gentlemen. In the flesh, in your ears, and number one in your hearts, it's Mr. John F. Braun.
Got to get that wrinkle out of that blanket.
Or get a curtain.
Yeah. I don't have any curtains.
Well, get one right there. Didn't Kelly offer to make you one?
She made a suggestion.
Oh, she would definitely make you one. Buy her the materials, she'll make it for you. She loves doing stuff like that. I mean, when she, yeah. All right. I'm going to get that open so that it's floating somewhere else. Okay, and I can get there that way. Great. All right, I should go through my pre-show checklist, though, because I keep forgetting to do that. So, the light's on. Input level looks good. Our camera brightness we did. We have, do I have the right, compressor for you? Great. Stereo is not balanced. Ha, 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 ha. See, this is why I have a pre-flight checklist. Come on, guys. There we go. All right. Much better. Logic has the right EQ. We've already got your levels. All the streams are live. We sent the tweet. We sent the notification. Set Farrago for theme music. Really? We say way down here? Okay. I'm going to believe it. I don't believe it. Okay. Set sponsor level. Yep. Turned off the air conditioner. Yep, did that several months ago. Okay. Are we ready?
Yeah, mine's on the floor.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, are we ready?
The downstairs one, I should put a cover on it.
Oh, on the outside to keep it from leaking in? Yeah.
Yeah, I used the, what is it, Seek thermal.
Mm-hmm.
And it showed It showed that spot was cooler than the surrounding area. So.
Makes sense. Big hole in the wall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what else? Oh, I used it one time to find I have a stove vent.
Right. That's good to know.
So I was looking around and I saw something blue, and I'm like, "What is this?" And then I felt it, and it was cold. Yeah. But it's not hooked up, but it is there, and there's actually a vent outside. Yeah.
Huh. So did you
all the
cover
weird
it or stuff it with insulation or something?
I taped it or taped it shut so cold air wouldn't be like blowing in or out. So I think that's the best I can do.
Woo.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. Yeah, Brian and Bill, you're right. Ready, set. I could get ready or all right, let's do this. Ready? We good?
Uh-huh.
All right. It's you, right?
Mm-hmm.
All righty then. Well, here goes nothing. 5, 4, 3.
The Mac Observer's Mac Geek Gab, episode 856 for Monday, February 8th, 2021.
Folks, and welcome to the Mac Observer's Mac Geek Gab, the show where you send in your questions, your tips, your cool stuff found. We mash them all together, we string them into an agenda, and we loosely follow the agenda because the goal is for each of us to learn at least 5 new things every single time we get together. 5. Sponsors for this episode include audible.com/MGG, sunbasket.com/MGG, barebones.com, and linode.com/MGG. We'll talk in depth about each of those shortly here. For now, here in Durham, New Hampshire, as usual, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And here in Fairfield, Connecticut, this is John F. Braun.
John F. Braun, Fairfield, Connecticut. Number 1 in your hearts, number 6 on the dial. I don't know which that is. John F. Braun. Yeah, there you go. All right. I don't know where to go from that. Why don't we start with some quick tips and see how we do? Yeah. All right, sweet. Don brings us one. He says, I'm sure most Mac users know you can have your birthdays automatically populated in the calendar app simply by entering the person's birthday in their contact card. The calendar app will automatically indicate the year they are celebrating if the birth year is included in contacts. I found an easy way to also have anniversaries indicated in the calendar app by creating a new contact card with the names of both spouses and the anniversary date. For example, I have a contact card with data for Bob X with his birthday of whatever. This populates the calendar year with Bob X's, 77th birthday or whatever it is. And then I have a contact card with Kathy, the same thing. And then I created a separate contact card, a third one, for Bob and Kathy X with the birthday of whatever their wedding anniversary is. And that populates the calendar app with Bob and Kathy's 55th birthday, I guess it says. He says, but since there's 2 names there, I know it's not their birthday. I know that it's their anniversary. So there you go. That's pretty good. I like it. I like little hacks like that. So yeah, thanks. Good stuff. Any thoughts on that, Mr. Braun, before we keep on trucking here?
Nope.
All right. Cool. Let's see. What is next? Patrick. Oh, yeah. In the last episode, we were talking about option clicking on the volume in the menu bar to get the volume system preference pane up. And Patrick says that this works with display and keyboard as well. If you option click the screen brightness, it gets you to the display preference pane, and option the keyboard backlight brightness, it gets you to keyboard preferences. So this is on your Apple keyboard where you've got those things. If you option click them, boom, up comes the thing. That's pretty good. And then he reminds us that the option key is a great way to get more information in a lot of different parts of macOS. And he gives us 2 examples. Option click on the sound icon shows you not only the output, but input devices as well. And then option click on the Wi-Fi icon gives you a lot more details about the current Wi-Fi network. And he says, of course, there are a lot more. So yeah, the moral of this story is don't forget to test things with the option key down. It's fun stuff. Fun stuff avails. I don't know. It's good. Anything come to mind, John?
No, I like the Wi-Fi one. Yeah. It really gives you a lot of, really helps you understand your environment. Because it gives you all these levels and stuff.
Yeah.
And channels and.
Well, and if you're on a mesh network, it can be really handy because if you option click that, it will show you the MAC address of the SSI or of the access point that your Mac is connected to. And then you can cross-reference that with the MAC addresses of your access points and know, oh, yeah, I'm connected to the one in the living room instead of the one in the bedroom or whatever. But that can be a super handy troubleshooting kind of thing, especially if your mesh doesn't necessarily tell you. I guess most of them do now, but I think even Eero, when it came out, didn't expose, like in the Eero app, it didn't tell you, oh, yeah, you know, like Dave's iMac is connected to the office Wi-Fi. It would just say Dave's iMac is connected and not give any more details. They've added more to that, but I guess some of them might not still have it. So, yeah, anyway, handy stuff.
I have Dabuki. Dabuki Tools does that for me.
Dabuki Tools tells you the MAC address of your.
Yeah, it'll tell you when you get it handed off from one to the other. It'll say roaming and then, you know, give you the MAC address of the new one. Yeah.
Huh. I've never messed with that part of. I don't leave Dabuki Tools running all the time. So.
Oh, okay.
That's interesting. Huh. I'll have to check that out. I love what those guys do. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
All right. John, this week I did some installation of beta OSs, and some of it was intentional even. So I'll start with that. I have had the opportunity throughout the pandemic to play some gigs. This summer I did some outdoor gigs, and then the theater where I do some sort of recurring work. Really, we worked together and really kind of came up with a good testing regimen. We were able to source a bunch of tests, and the net result of it. And there's a lot more than just tests that go into this, but the net result of it is if we've created a safe environment to make theater, and it involves a lot of masking and things like that. But anyway, I had what's called Tech Week in the theater world this week for a show that I'm playing, which meant I was going to be at the theater every day as we, rehearse the show. We rehearse the show and then we open the show. And this meant that I was going to be wearing a mask a lot of the time because that's one of our policies backstage is, everybody's always wearing a mask unless you're performing on stage. And it's always a pain in the neck because when I grab my phone, I got to unlock and go through the typey with my passcode. And I heard that the iOS 14.5 beta added unlock with your watch if Face ID detects a mask. And I say the feature that way because it's not just your phone will unlock with your watch if your watch is on your wrist. Your phone will only unlock with your watch if it detects a face with a mask. And then if your watch is on your wrist, unlocked and has a passcode, then the watch can be used. And I'll tell you, the 14.5 beta and the watchOS, whichever version it is, I can't remember off the top of my head. But the current betas of iOS and watchOS are, for me anyway, rock solid. And this feature is absolutely game changing. The only reason I even know it's happening is because, and it should, my watch, taps my wrist just like it would if it unlocked my Mac to let me know that it has unlocked my phone. And on the watch, there's a little relock phone button. So if somebody else has grabbed my phone and unlocked it because my watch is on my wrist and their face has a mask, I could tap it and relock my phone without actually having to have my phone in my hand, which is good. And it only works for unlocking the phone. It does not work for spending any money. So Apple Pay and, even App Store, no go. But man, is it great to be able to grab my phone and, just have Face ID work. So I think this is going to be a way of Apple selling a lot more watches, John, as we progress forward. Well, I mean, like for somebody like you don't have an Apple Watch. You haven't, at least thus far, you haven't really had a practical need for one. I mean, not to say that you wouldn't use it, but, there hasn't been like that moment where it's like, I need a watch. This is it. I would use it for this. This might be that moment. I don't know. But I'm sure it will be for some people. So anyway, that has been great. And if you're somebody that does the beta thing, great. Otherwise, you'll get it when it comes out, which my guess isn't going to be too terribly long. So I just knew with this theater thing this week that I would probably appreciate it. And boy, howdy, was that guess right. So It's pretty cool, man. Like it just works. It barely even takes any extra time. It's just, it's smooth. So any thoughts, questions?
Yeah, I don't know if they've changed something in Apple Pay lately, but when I've tried to use it, my workflow now is, I bring up the card, I tap the power button twice, and then it comes up and says Face ID, and it almost immediately falls back to enter passcode. I don't recall it doing that before.
Oh, yes. I think that's because of masking. Yeah, they don't want you to have to wait to do that. I think that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm going to our chat room here at live.macgeekgab.com. Alex says, yes, we'll call this the Darth Vader feature because Darth Vader's always wearing a mask. So finally Darth Vader gets to be able to unlock with his Apple Watch. Alex asks, do you post any of these gigs on YouTube or elsewhere? Some of the live streams are available from the theater on Crowdcast. This particular show, to answer Bill's question, is called Next to Normal. And they were not able to get the rights to stream it. When you put on a production, you have to get the rights because somebody else wrote the piece. And those rights are very dependent. It's a whole big thing about, what you can do and how you can market it and how many seats you're going to be able to sell to. And that's how you pay. And one of those things now is, are you permitted to live stream it? And the theater is not permitted to live stream this particular one just by the way the rights work. So not that one, but some of them, yes. And maybe I'll post more on like Twitter at Dave Hamilton or something when those things come up to let you all know. So, but John, I had a problem with the Mac OS. I suppose it's the 11.3 beta. So when I first got my new Air, I put it on the beta track for some reason. There was some very specific thing that I wanted to do with it. And it might have even been inherited from when I migration assistanted over my old Air because I was on the beta track to have Big Sur. I think that's all it was. And so when I migrated over to the M1 Air, it kept that profile. I removed that profile. There's a way you can go into software update in system preferences. You click the restore to defaults. It takes the profile out and that's it. But it had kept offering me like the 11.2 beta or something, which I had avoided because I didn't, it was like, fine, I don't need to run beta software on my laptop. All's good. And so this week I knew 11.2 had come out and I'm like, oh, right, I should update my laptop to 11.2. And so watching TV or whatever, I grab my laptop, I launch software update. It lists a couple of things. There was like a security update in addition to the OS update. It's like it needs to restart to do this. I'm like, yeah, no problem. Cool, great. And I let it do it. Unbeknownst to me, and this is my fault because I wasn't paying attention, it installed the 11.3 beta. The beta profile is not on there. I don't know why it did this. And it's been a disaster, very specific disaster. Most of it works just fine. Safari I can't get Safari to load most web pages. It appears to be a JavaScript bug or issue. When I launch, if I turn off JavaScript in Safari, web pages load, but obviously without JavaScript, most of the web is useless these days. So it's a mess. Like the page will clearly half load in the background, but like when it comes time to like process the DOM and draw the page, nothing happens. It's just blank. And it happens with many, but not all websites, of course. So I don't know what to do because I really kind of rely on that machine. I'm teaching this class at the university, the business of podcasting, and I use this for that class. I don't really use Safari, but still, like, I'm not happy about having a beta OS on that thing. And I wonder if I can revert back with the what if APFS and snapshots?
Oh, right.
Right? I need to look at this.
Go into recovery. And yeah, if you go into recovery, I had to do this a while ago because I was doing I think it was similar to you. I was trying to update the OS and things were screwing up. And rather than do a restore for my clone, you can go to recovery and go to Time Machine and it'll show you the most recent several snapshots. And that's a quicker way to get back where you should be, I think.
Interesting. So go into recovery mode and launch Time Machine in recovery mode. And now I can see those snapshots. Is that right?
Well, you do. Yeah, there's a Time Machine option. And when you click on it, one thing is it'll show you snapshots.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not entirely obvious. That was not obvious to me.
Yeah.
It's kind of hidden this ability to do that.
Okay.
But you have to do it from recovery. You can't. It'd be nice if you could do it from from the OS itself.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to mess with that. Wish me luck. This could be a mess, but yeah. All right, cool. I like this. I'm glad we had this little chat. This is excellent. See, I learned new things. This is how it goes. I like it. All right. We have some cool stuff found. We've got some questions. I think we're even going to get to some Wi-Fi stuff today, John. I'm very excited about all kinds of stuff. The next thing that I would like to do, my friend, is I want to talk about our first two sponsors, if we're good with this particular thing.
We're good.
All right. Look, we're still spending a lot of time at home. We're still spending a lot of time doing those at-home projects, especially those of us that live in the northern climes where it's still a little chilly outside, although it's supposed to be getting warmer. That's at least what over time. Anyway, you've got some time on your hands to get those projects done that you want to get done. And most of your projects, because you're geeks like us, are going to involve a server. Where do you want to put your server? Do you want to put it in your house? Well, probably not, because as you scale up, even if you have like great hardware in your house, you don't have the great bandwidth and all that. And you also don't want to be managing a server. You don't want those headaches. You want our sponsor, the good people at Linode, to be managing your server because it's super affordable to get started there. If you go to linode.com/MGG, you can get started with their Nanode server for just $5 a month. But more than that, if you go to linode.com/MGG, you get $100 in free credit applied to your account, right? So that $5 server doesn't actually cost you anything for a good long while until either you run out of your free months at 5 to 100, you do the math, or you scale it up. Because you've put whatever you want on there. Now you've got some users actually, using it and all that stuff, and you want it to scale up. And that's the beauty of Linode. It just scales right up along with you. They've got 24/7, 365 human support, no tiers or anything. You just get people that can help you, and you can choose shared and dedicated compute instances. You do whatever you want. If it runs on Linux, it runs on Linode. Go to linode.com/MGG and click on the Create Free Account button to get started. Our thanks to Linode for sponsoring this episode. Next up is BB Edit. You know we love BB Edit. I have it running on my computer right now. I don't even have to look. I know it's running because I use it for all kinds of things. Yeah, sure. I use it for all the programming that I do, right? And I do stuff in PHP and some JavaScript and, CSS and HTML and that sort of thing. People use it, I know, for Python all the time, of course, C++ and all that stuff. It does great. but it also does great as just a text editor. And you can do all kinds of cool things in it, like counting the characters in a document, comparing two documents. It does a great job at this. And of course, BBEdit 13.1 has the run Unix command, so you can do that inside BBEdit and get what you need done without actually having to leave the environment. You can have their grep cheat sheets in there and their grep playground so you can learn more about regular expressions. Go get this, right? You get it. You get the whole thing free for 30 days at barebones.com. And then after that, you either pay your $50 if you want all the features, or if you don't need all the features, you can keep using it for free. Go check it out. Barebones.com. Our thanks to Barebones and BBEdit for sponsoring this episode. All right. Let's go to cool stuff found here, John. Andrew has I had no idea about this. And Andrew says, this is an incredible tool, no matter how you use it. And it is called MDS, or Mac Deploy Stick. Not to be confused with MDS, the engine that runs as part of Mac OS background, like Spotlight indexing and that sort of thing. But what MDS does is it allows you to create deploy sticks, right? Like customized USB sticks for installing, deploying Mac OS. One of the things it has in there is an easy way to download old Mac OS installers. So they keep all the links up to date. They keep everything, and you can just slip them all down. So this is a very cool thing. I'll of course put a link in the show notes, because that's how we roll here. But yeah, I never knew about this MDS, Mac Deploy Stick MDS. Did you, John?
I thought I heard of it at one point.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever used it?
No.
Okay, cool. All right. Let's see. And then David points out, I am primarily a Mac household with tons of Apple devices, but I do have some cross-platform needs, such as Linux, Mint, and Windows for those platforms. The way I tie things together is through Google Chrome. Apple now has an iCloud app to install on Windows, which also installs a plugin for Chrome to sync bookmarks. Well, actually, Apple has had that. He says now Apple has an iCloud keychain cross-platform plugin for Mac, Windows, and Linux. He says it doesn't work, but I installed it on Chrome and Linux, and it seems to work. Now, somebody in the chat room was saying that this plugin does not work on the Mac version of Chrome. So your mileage may vary from David's here, but it definitely works on, he tested it on Windows and Linux, so that you can, which is great to be able to now you don't have to necessarily, be a 1Password or LastPass user if you just want to take your Apple logins and keychain and sync them around. So yeah, pretty good. That's pretty good. I'm stoked to see Apple doing this. Kind of reminds me of the days that Apple, when they first built iTunes for Windows, right? It's like, oh yes, change is afoot. This is good. I mean, really, at the end of my leg is also a foot. So I don't know. Maybe not. Interesting. Yeah. Brian Monroe at live.macgeekgab.com confirms that it does not work for him on the macOS version of Chrome. So thank you for that. That's good. I found out. Oh, any thoughts on that, John, before we keep trucking along here?
Trucking.
I found out, I heard about a thing called Here. It's I think somehow Kevin Costner is involved in supporting or building this app. But what Here does, it's an app for your iPhone, and it uses your location. It's built for road tripping, which of course is probably something that a lot of us are going to be doing for vacations this year, as opposed to flying around, right? But it's built for when you're driving through different places. It will play you little audio clips to tell you about some of the history, some of the cool places to see, but basically just telling you about the places that you're in or driving through. And they've got things for, I would say, maybe a quarter of the United States here: Arizona, California, Colorado, Idaho, Louisiana, Montana, Nevada, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Oregon, Texas, Utah, Washington, and Wyoming. So I have no doubt that I will find myself in at least one of those states because my son is currently in one of those states. So yeah, that's pretty good. And they're saying they're going to have more than 10,000 stories throughout the U.S. Before the summer. So that's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty cool. They say things like, I wonder how this town came to be. Who was that mountain peak named after? Questions like that. Just things that would be interesting to hear about while you're, kind of trucking along. So I like it. I like the idea. I can't wait to test it out. But I thought it was, I thought it was cool. And so hence cool stuff found. Right? Good.
Yeah, I'll have to try it. If it moves as you go by a field with cows in it, then that would do it for me.
That's all you need is, okay. Now, if you were driving by a field, I'm going to get in trouble. If you were driving by a field with cows in it, how tempted would you be to stop and go tip one of those cows over?
Don't believe what you see in the movies. From what I understand, it's not easy and it gets them angry if you try.
I can confirm that both of those things are true. There may or may not have been a field with a cow in it by which we may or may not have walked home from school as kids. And it's possible I've come upon this information firsthand. Yeah. It's like you really need a running start to tip over a cow, man. Like it's not a moment I'm proud of, but
they must weigh like a ton or something. I don't know.
Yes. Many hundreds of pounds, I would think. And they're pretty steady on their feet. It turns out, but when there's a will,
maybe
there's
a baby
way.
Cow.
Oh,
maybe a baby cow, but that's just mean.
Yeah, that's not veal tipping, right? I told you I'm going to get myself in trouble. Okay, I spent too much time at the theater and I'm punchy. Okay, moving on. Ralph, save us, Ralph. Ralph says, a candidate for cool stuff found. There are plenty of charging stations from which to choose. I did a search for comparisons and reviews and found the 7-port charging station with USB-C by Satechi. And he says the vendor claims the charging station is perfect for charging almost any device thanks to its built-in smart charging chipset and pre-port surge protection. And he says, I have had the unit for about a month and no complaints. He says the charging station comes with a power cable and 7 mini Velcro straps for coiling cables. It doesn't include the cables. So what this is it's one of these, it almost looks like a file organizer, right? Where, you would put files in it sort of standing up on your desk, maybe, in progress files or something like that. But instead of putting files in it, you're putting your phone or your iPads or maybe even your laptop in it. And then it's got, it's got 7 ports. 5 of them are type A, 3 of them are 5 volt and 2 of them are, I'm guessing what he means to say they're all 5 volts. So 3 of them are 1 amp and 2 of them are 2.4 amps. So the faster charging on the type A. And then 2 of them are type C ports. One of them's 18 watts, which is great for an iPad. And one of them is 30 watts, which is actually enough to charge a laptop. Laptops will take it. So you could put your MacBook in there. You could put your iPads and your phones and, anything else you've got going and just stock them in. So one of these things, I've seen these. This is not the first of these. Of course, it's being, perfected. And I've always seen them and thought, oh gosh, I would never want anything like that. And then after I read Ralph's email, I turned around and I looked on the couch in my office and I have this mess of cables with because at the theater, I use 2 different iPads simultaneously. So I'm constantly, bringing those home to charge. One of them with my music on it. One of them with my, the mixer so that I can control the audio mix that I hear in my ears. And so I have those 2 and an extra phone or something and my laptop, and they're all just strewn out on the couch with cables dangling over the edge of the couch onto this thing so that I can charge them. And I thought, maybe I do want something like this. Maybe this is something that would be really handy for me to have because, as Ralph points out, the outcome is that the hairball of cables is gone. He says, but there is a little bit of cable clutter in the device when things aren't being charged. But yeah, there you go. So maybe these folks are onto something. So thanks, Ralph. Cool. Have you ever had one of these things, John? You know what I'm talking about, right? If I described it well enough.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I got one from, and this is weird. I got one from Ventev that, it's similar. So it has, slots. It's just USB A.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I got one that I think it has 3 USB A ports. It has 2 120 volt, which is kind of handy. And then it has slots for your tablet or, other thin, device.
Sure. Yeah.
It's just weird because I'm going to Ventev and it looks like something has changed with them.
Okay.
I can't seem to get a product list here.
I found your thing on Amazon and I put that in the show notes just now. So, I mean, feel free to change the link if you find it on Ventev, but it's there. I see what you're talking about. That's actually kind of cool. It's almost shaped like a big puck and then it's got your ports all over it. That's another cool way of doing this. Yeah. Interesting. Cool. All right, moving on, or are we still here? Okay,
moving on.
All right, so this really started as a question, but as often happens, the question sort of buries the lead of something we didn't know about. And so Ari wrote in, and he says, "I've got a client who I set up with a DS14 418 Play Synology disk station a couple of years ago. It's loaded with 4 hard drives, and he's currently using space on it. He says he has asked me to see what the most efficient setup is to set up something called Roon, because he is intrigued by the prospect of high fidelity audio. He says, regarding Roon, I'm curious if you guys have any experience or thoughts about the service. From what I've heard on the show, I think you're in the camp that you can't really tell the difference with super high-end audio unless you have specific music you know well, a well-trained ear, and very high-end equipment, and even then, perhaps, it's negligible. But he wants to know, what's the best way to set up Roon? Should I put it on my existing NAS? Should I upgrade to a beefier NAS and put it on that? Should I run it on my iMac? Or should I buy Roon's Nucleus, which is like this $2,000 piece of hardware that runs it? And so my big question upon reading this was, what the heck is Roon? Because therein lies a cool stuff found. So Roon, John, is all of the things that you might infer from my description of Ari's question here. It is a service that you run locally on a device that pulls your music library and then Tidal, if you use Tidal as a streaming service, and one other streaming service, presumably another high quality one. Tidal will do higher than 1644 sound, and I think that's what this other one does. But what Roon really does, so it's focused on the audiophile market because it is built to play audio at the highest quality that you have. It will convert it to whatever your speaker or output device is, the best your output device can support. It also lets you put an EQ in the chain. It essentially runs as a digital signal processor. So you can do some EQing, you can do some varying things that sort of fall in the realm of compression and things like that. But really what Roon does is I would call it an open source music playback engine, because I was able to target with Roon my Sonos speakers via Sonos, not via AirPlay necessarily, but also any AirPlay speakers I have, and also the speakers on my Mac and or the speakers on my iPhone. There's Roon apps for the Mac. So you run a server in one place, and like we've pointed out, you can do it on your NAS, you can do it on your Mac, or you can do it on a dedicated piece of hardware to do this. And the server pulls together all of your music, indexes the catalog, makes sure it pulls down like album artwork, but also just pictures of the artist in question, pulls down all of your lyrics, and then sort of goes through your house and finds all of the speakers that it finds on the network and asks, which ones do you want to have involved in Roon? And then it'll do multi-room playback and it'll coordinate all of that. So it's the back end. That's, to use the meme of the week, that's quarterbacking the whole environment of your music. And it's pretty cool. It's not cheap. It costs $10 a month, I think, somewhere in that realm. And but I tested it out. As soon as I saw Ari's email, I was like, well, I need to know about this. So I spent 30 minutes and set up Roon on my Synology. And I think for what most of us would have in terms of music collections, most Synology disk stations would do fine. They, of course, recommend super high, that you need a high-end CPU. And that would be true if you're going to start doing a lot of signal processing, of EQing. But that part of it was kind of nice. But I could do it on mine, and it was using very, very little CPU. I was doing it on my DS1520 Plus, and it was hard to tell at the time because Roon was also indexing my entire library. So it was doing a lot, but looking at the CPU usage, but doing a lot meant playing back on 2 sets of speakers and indexing was using like 30% of the CPU. If I stopped playing things back, it dropped down to maybe 22% of the CPU. So somewhere in that 5 to 10% of the CPU range to play back simultaneously on 2 devices with an EQ in the chain. You can do the math. But it was really nice because I've got 2 old, non-compatible with the latest Sonos stuff, Sonos Play 5s in my office. And I was able to target those and multi-room to those as well as newer Sonos speakers at the same time. But what was really nice was that I could finally have a parametric EQ to control the EQ of my Sonos speakers the way I would like to. Because Sonos, despite the fact that I've tried to buy Giles Martin, like many drinks, he will not tell me how to do this on my own. Now, finally, with Roon, I can do it. I was able to tweak the low end and get it right where I want for the room. And it sounds great. So this is pretty cool. Will I keep my Roon subscription? I don't know. Probably not, because asking my family to start playing back things with a different app than the one that they're used to might get me into a lot of trouble. But it's a pretty cool thing. I don't know. I'm going to mess with it. So anyway, that's a very long, perhaps the longest cool stuff found we've ever done. I don't know. 2 long ones, right? The Satechi one went long too. I don't know. I like it. It's good. Had you ever heard about Roon before, John?
No.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me that somebody pull it. Obviously, it's technically possible because I used it. Somebody did it. What impresses me is that someone spent the time to build this very sort of specific. I mean, it's. I would call this on the level of Plex in terms of just how well it worked for me. Your mileage may vary, of course, but really robust, fairly easy to use product. I mean, from hearing about it to having it running flawlessly was less than 30 minutes for me. I know I'm a geek, but it's just not that difficult to pull together. It is Roon, ROON is it's Roon Labs, ROONlabs.com. There's a link in the show notes. And but it was pretty easy to pull together, but it's really robust for something I don't know how many, what's their target market? If they got every customer that would be interested in this to pay them, how many people is that? Is it in the millions? I don't think so, but clearly they've put the work in. So I think it's great. I don't know how long it's been around. It just blew me away. So anyway, pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I don't know. What else? Anything else, John, on the cool stuff found list?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to get to these questions. I want to hopefully get to some Wi-Fi stuff. I also want to talk about our next 2 sponsors, if that's okay with you.
Dandy.
All right. Hey, if you're like me, you're always looking for the next thing to entertain you, right? You're listening to this episode now, right? But what are you going to do after you finish this? Well, we've got you. Visit audible.com/MGG and sign up for this service, because with their President Days event, it's only $9.95 a month for your first 6 months. And with that, you get one title a month from their premium selection, which means the latest bestseller, the hottest, buzziest new release, whatever it might be that you want, you get, plus access to their thousands and thousands of things in their Plus catalog. Ready Player 2. That's the book I would go after right now, narrated by Will Wheaton. Of course, if you haven't heard Ready Player 1 yet, go listen to that. That's also in Audible, also narrated by Will Wheaton. And I listened to that one. He did a fantastic job. It was so good. I've decided I want to, like, this next one, Ready Player 2. I just want to listen to him read it to me. I don't want to read it to myself. He does such a killer job. You got to go check it out. You could also check out Ender's Game, right? That's fantastic. Great stories. And you can have them read to you by people that really know what they're doing and really are engaging with all of this stuff. And then, of course, that's only a slice of the catalog here. You can look, like I said, thousands and thousands of things. And as I said, right now, with their President's Day event, $9.95 a month for your first 6 months. Audible.com/MGG. Our thanks to Audible for sponsoring this episode. Next up is Sunbasket. Look, getting dinner on the table quickly does not have to mean sacrificing nutrition and quality. And with Sunbasket, you can actually have it all every single day. It is frustrating sometimes to think like, long day. I just was on like 6 Zooms. I'm sort of beat. Now I have to think about what I'm going to have for dinner and then make it. Well, Sunbasket's got you, right? Because you go and select your menu and then you order it and all the ingredients are right there. They've got instructions that are really fun to follow. It really makes it so that, you're just kind of doing these things and following this stuff. And now suddenly you've cooked a fantastic meal. Or if you don't want to do that, their fresh and ready meals are just $8.99. So they're good for your body and your budget. These things are literally just take them out and heat them up. And they're delicious, fantastic. Things like Indian coconut curry with pan-seared sole, tomatoes, and fresh basil. Greek beef skewers with arugula pear salad and hazelnuts. Turkey bolognese over zucchini and carrot ribbons. I gotta go because I gotta go. I'm hungry now. Go check it out because right now Sunbasket is offering $35 off your order when you go to sunbasket.com/MGG and enter promo code MGG at checkout. That's sunbasket.com/MGG with promo code MGG at checkout for $35 off your order. Sunbasket.com/MGG, promo code MGG. And our thanks to Sunbasket for making me hungry and for sponsoring this episode. All right. But before I go eat, John, let's answer some questions. Let's go to Paul here. Paul asks, he says, being inside for a year, I have a nagging need to upgrade. But I think you mentioned you're still using your Intel Macs, as I am with my MacBook Pro. He says 2015 and a 2017 iMac. He says, I'm no longer doing any coding, but only using apps. Do you think I would gain much if I bought an M1 MacBook? Here's the deal. I have this show we're doing on an Intel iMac, the 2019 Core i9, whatever it is, the 8-core deal. And then in my office, I still have my old 2014 iMac, which I'm hoping to upgrade this year to an M1 as soon as there's an M1 iMac to be had. And then I have my M1 Air. And I mean, they all work fine for me. The M1 Air is, despite this being an 8-core iMac in front of me, the M1 Air is absolutely the fastest Mac that I own, which is crazy. Yes, you would gain something. You would gain the speed of the M1, the wake up time, like all of that stuff you would absolutely gain. And it's gonna be faster than your 2015 MacBook Pro for sure. That would be true if you bought a 2020 MacBook Pro regardless, right? But the M1 is I mean, do you need to do it? It doesn't sound like you need to do it. You're having the nagging that you want to do it, but that's also an okay reason to do it, right? So, I mean, yes, you will see a gain from it, even though you're not like doing any CPU intensive coding or anything like that. It's just a different experience. The way apps launch, the way things just run. It is fast. It is a faster macOS experience than running macOS on Intel. in a lot of different ways. So yes, I think you will see a difference for sure. I notice it when I go grab my wife's Air, which was my Air that I had no complaints about. And it's like, oh, right. Things are just, there's a lag that exists with the Intel thing that just doesn't on M1. And it's because think about how the iPad is, right? You just, you wake it up, you use it, you're moving between apps. There's a lot of efficiencies that have happened there that now we get to have on the Mac. So yeah, I think so. If you had a 2019, if you had just bought a Mac a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, I don't know that I'd say you need to upgrade, but 5 years ago, but even that though, you would notice a difference. No question, but certainly yeah, I think so. I don't know. What do you, John, you bought a Mac a year ago. I know you're not somebody that upgrades, regularly and like new shiny doesn't necessarily, always catch your interest, but like, what are your thoughts?
My renew or upgrade window is about 5 to 7 years.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The oldest machine I have is a 2018 Mini, which I'm using to do the podcast and the audio work, and it seems to. I mean, it was definitely a upgrade from the last one, which was a Core 2 Duo, and that one was sucking wind. I mean, it was struggling to do a lot of things.
Right, of course.
Whereas, yeah, I mean, it was first generation Core 2 Duo, whereas this is, I think, an 8-core or something like that.
Probably a 6-core, I think, is what you got, right? Isn't that right? Or is it?
Let's see. No, you're right. Yeah, 3.2 gigahertz 6-core, which is fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But let me ask this question differently. What are as someone who just bought a MacBook Pro last year, top of the line MacBook Pro last year, what are your thoughts on M1? Like, is there any part of you that thinks, okay, well, I want to upgrade to M1 now, even though you're not going to, like, are there any thoughts of like, I want to upgrade to M1 now, or man, when that, 16-inch M1 comes out, I wonder, should I? Like, are those thoughts, do those thoughts swim through your head?
No.
Okay. That's not surprising to me. I mean, it does, knowing you as I do. Yeah.
The urge to upgrade comes when the performance of the machine starts suffering.
Okay.
And right now I'm not seeing that on either machine.
Right.
I may someday.
Of course. I'm sure you will. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, OSs and apps, eventually, grow to consume all resources, right? I mean, that's just.
I think that's true. Yeah, there's your
as a
wisdom
computer engineer, that has been my observation.
Yeah. That's true. It is. It's true. Yeah.
Consume all resources.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's just easier. You can either program elegantly, or you can just, just hog all the RAM and all the hard drive.
Well, that was true, but with everything being developed for mobile first and having to like the battery constraints stopped that practice. I think, because you're right. Like when it was just desktop machines and like heat and power consumption didn't matter, it got ugly there for a little while. Yeah. Yeah. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, we were able to push the envelope forward, but then suddenly it's like, now you've got to deal with a battery. So figure it out. You got to be a better programmer again. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's true. Yeah. My reason for wanting to upgrade is that I'm past my own upgrade window, right? Like my iMac downstairs is almost going to be 7 years old. It doesn't owe me anything, but I really would like it to hold out until there's an M1 iMac. And then my plan is to put whatever that M1 or M2, whatever, the Apple Silicon based iMac here in the studio, and then roll the 2019 iMac back down to the office. And then I don't know what I'll do with the 2014 iMac. Like I said, it doesn't owe me anything, but I'm sure I'll find a use in a home for it, for me or for somebody else. But yeah. Yep. All right, cool. Yeah. So for Paul, yeah, absolutely. I think the M1 would be the way to go. I think you'd like it. I mean, it has blown me away. It redefines again, like my Air the Air in general is a low end computer, right? In Apple's product lineup, even the MacBook Pro that the M1 MacBook Pro replaces is the low end MacBook Pro. But these computers are not low end computers. They're faster than anything else most of us own. So it's a weird shift, and I can't wait for the day when they are actually low end, because there's some other Apple Silicon Mac that blows them away. And that's what I'm hoping for here in the studio. So, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, you want to take us to Rand, John?
Yes. All right. Rand says, I have a Drobo Mini that has been working fine for years, but I am running up against its limited capacity, which appears to be 8 terabytes, I think he said. I'm thinking that I should grow my capacity. I like the mini form factor, and I've had excellent experience with 2.5-inch hard disk drives with a small M cache to speed things up. So I guess they have a RAM cache in that unit.
Yep.
I'm attracted by the Synology DS620 Slim, which has 6 bays and a similar small form factor. I'm interested both in transfer speeds and data redundancy. I read in some chats that mixing an SSD with HDD is a waste of money because the speed of the slowest drive affects transfer speeds. Putting in an SSD cache in my Mini sped things up a lot. What would you advise regarding to populating the DS620 Slim with at least one SSD plus a RAID or other array of hard disk drives? So what I did is I found an article, and I must have fumble-fingered it because the article is which Synology NAS models support SSD cache, and I didn't find that one. But then I did another search because I was going to follow up regarding something else. And that unit does support an SSD cache in the form of a 2.5-inch SSD, which is all that it has. Some Synologies have an NVMe. One of mine does. And one of my Synologies, I do the SSD cache with NVMe, and actually 2 of them.
Yep.
And then the other one, I have a 2.5-inch SSD.
Oh, that you just put in one of the full-size bays. Yep.
Right. And both those units and the one that he wants to get both support SSD cache. As far as mixing, so I would say, yeah, look at that one. And also I looked at the capacity, and I think it can hold like up to like 18 terabytes or some crazy, or 30 terabytes, up to 30 terabytes capacity.
Yeah.
So that's good. So that's more than he can do now. As far as the relative throughput, I mean, they advertise. So look at the data sheets for the drives you want to put in there. So this one, I'll have to do a benchmark. The thing is, they claim that you should be able to get about 200 megabytes a second throughput with this unit, which I believe. And if you look at the spec sheets for both, like for example, I looked at the spec sheet for the Iron Wolf drive, and they claim about that same level of throughput from the platter to the SATA 3 interface.
Okay.
So look at the specs for the drive that you put in there. Some drives may advertise that they're SATA 3, which is 6 gigabits per second, but the platter to interface speed, like we talked about some drive manufacturers pulling a fast one and using a different encoding technology, which really slows it down. So look at the specs for the drives. There's also, depending on how you lay out a RAID, especially for reading, and I think it's mirroring. If you do if mirroring is part of your RAID scheme, and I don't know if Synology Hybrid RAID kind of mirrors, I think it does to some level, depending on how many drives you have, you'll see throughput between the slowest drive and the fastest drive because it kind of munges them all together.
Yeah, SHR is not mirroring. I mean, it can be if you only have mirroring. Really, only makes sense with 2 drives, right? Because if you have more than 2, you're not. But SHR, I mean, SHR is similar to a RAID 5-ish. It's a little more flexible than RAID 5 because you can have mixed size drives, but SHR uses striping, which I thought was faster than mirroring, because mirroring it only has 2 drives to pull from, whereas striping can put the bands across, 5 drives or more, depending on how many drives you've got in the device. And now you're able to read from all of them. So I remember even when I had super slow drives in my NAS, as long as I had, 4 or 5 drives in there, I could easily push past the, gigabit Ethernet speeds because it was reading across all the drives simultaneously. So I don't know that I'd go for this DS620 Slim, John. And here's why. I don't know why you'd want to limit yourself to only being able to use 2.5-inch drives. Every Synology that exists supports 2.5-inch drives. The non-slim models also support 3.5-inch full-size drives. This one does not support an M2 SSD, John. The Slim doesn't. You can put an SSD in one of the regular bays and have that used as an SSD cache, but it's not going to be as fast as the M.2 SSD that you can do in some of the other units. So maybe that's what he was saying when he said it didn't support an SSD cache. It doesn't support a dedicated one, dedicated hardware cache. I wouldn't, unless you're planning on filling the thing with only SSDs, I would not go with this Slim. I think that's what these are built for, is to be used with SSDs, because SSDs are those 2.5-inch form factors. You can put 2.5-inch spindle drives in there, but most of those are super slow. So, yes. I would, right? I don't, but you can put all of that and then also 3.5-inch spindle drives in a different Synology. So yeah, I don't know that I like this Slim. And it's also got a slower CPU. It's got the Celeron 3355, where it's going with something like the 920 Plus or the 1520 Plus as the 4125. That's a 4-core CPU as opposed to a 2-core CPU. I will take, Synology has a great NAS comparison tool. I don't know, whatever we call it. I will compare this 620 Slim with a 1520 Plus and a 920 Plus so that you can kind of see how that works. So, but yeah, I don't know that I'd be too happy with one of these Slim things. It just seems very limiting unless you know exactly what you're going to do with it. And again, from his description, it sounds like what he wants to do with it, the 620 Slim isn't the right thing, I think. So anyway, use Synology's comparison thing. They've really got, it makes it easy to see what where the features are, what they have, what they don't have. So, but yeah. You have the 920 Plus, is that right, John? Or might I have that wrong?
I think I got, let's see. I got a 918 and a 1618.
Okay.
Yes. And then I have a couple that I decommissioned.
Well, right. Yeah, of course.
That are older.
Yeah.
Well, what did I have? I had a 713, I think was the first one that they set me up with. And then I got an expansion bay, which is a nice feature.
That's right. Yep. Cool. All right.
Yeah, I'm happy with both of these, and they both have caching of one form or another. So yeah, I think I'm with you. It looks a bit, unless you absolutely need to save desk space.
And I'm not sure how much you would save either. Like, it doesn't look like you're saving much. I could be visually reading it wrong, but it doesn't look like it's super compact. Like that Drobo one was like flat, like a pancake kind of thing. So that was sort of cool. But I mean, not like a pancake unless you make really thick pancakes, but it was, flatter than the others. All right. Speaking of food, Gary has a tale of woe. Gary says, my stepmom has had her iPhone 6 or 6S for a few years now. The other day, my brother had a container of Mountain Dew sitting on the divider in our living room. And my stepmom was trying to organize her purse when, whoops, it spilled and saturated Her purse. Yesterday, she made a call to someone and either they couldn't hear her or she couldn't hear them. So I asked her if she thought her phone may have gotten hit. And at first she thought it didn't, but later she realized it had. It won't ring. It won't do things. She says, given that the phone is so old, I doubt that Verizon nor our local Apple stores will have any replacements in stock. She asked if I could open it up and try it out. And I told her it's nothing that can be done in 2 minutes. So she said she'd have my dad open it when he got home. At the time of this writing, I would have to say it's been 24 hours or more since this happened, so I doubt that even the bag of rice trick would work. She's not a heavy user and has only a handful of apps and still mostly uses the landline. Would you say that the iPhone SE 2020 would meet her needs? If not, what would you recommend? So lots of things to process here. First of all, the rice trick, which is have a bag of rice at the ready and put your like a Ziploc bag so that it's relatively airtight, and you put your phone in it and close the bag up. This rice is a great, essentially acts as a desiccant, sort of. It pulls the moisture out of the air and the device that's surrounding it. So in a Ziploc bag, the rice will absorb all moisture and it truly will dry out your phone. We've used this with great success over the years with water damage. Unfortunately, what we're talking about here is more than water. We have sugar involved, and sugar and electronics tends not to end well. It gets sticky. It coats things. Cleaning that out becomes near impossible because you don't want to add water. Yeah, you might, like, there's a world where you could get like high octane isopropyl alcohol and like clean your phone with that. But like, you're really heading down a path of where you're just going to possibly make it worse than better. So the rice trick does work. I've had it where even when we put it in rice hours later, it still dries the phone out and has been mostly fine. But I think with this one, the sugar is going to be the thing that gets you. Maybe drink Diet Dew. Have your brother drink Diet Dew in the future, and then you won't have sugar. And maybe you'll be okay. Diet Coke still has phosphoric acid in it, though, and that'll chew up electronics real fast, as well as your stomach. So
yeah, I had a mishap. Another liquid. I like Dogfish Head makes some what I'll call high octane beers. And yeah, those also. I had one of those encounter. I had those encounter a keyboard once, and yep, that was the end of the keyboard. I replaced the keyboard, and things got a little better. But
yeah, Dogfish Head beer. I mean, most beer has sugar of some form, like unconverted sugar of some form or another. I mean, obviously it's got alcohol in it, which is sugar, but Dogfish Head adds sugar. I think they use molasses. I don't know, whatever it is. If it's water, the bag of rice would be my recommendation. Anything more than water, probably not. As far as replacing it, certainly I think the SE 2020 would be a good phone for her. It would be an upgrade. It would be very similar to what she had. But I will point out that the 12 mini is both smaller in form and bigger in screen than the SE 2020. So it might just be time to jump your mom out of Team Home Button and into, the world of full screen phones. So think about that. There you go.
Right. Yep. And from what I recall, Dave, I think the 7, although it didn't advertise it being so, was waterproof. I think I saw videos of people dunk it in water and it would still function.
Yeah.
And then I think the 8 is the first phone that they said explicitly was water resistant. And I assume every phone past that one is also water resistant. So yeah, getting something newer. No, I'm not sure if soda would. I'm not going to find out.
Soda, yeah. I mean,
I don't know if I want to dunk. I don't know if I want to dunk my 12 in soda. At least not for too long. But
yeah, well, the place where I would be most concerned would be the Lightning connector and the speaker / microphone ports. I mean, they're all sealed, And so theoretically things won't get further than those, but the sugar will coat all of those things and gum up the works. Like you might not get a lightning cable to connect right. Your sound might be munged. So like, but I think you're right that the 7 was the first one that unofficially was sealed and survived the third-party dunk tests. And like you said, the 8, starting with the 8, they said they acknowledged it. So, yeah. All right. Mountain Dew versus iPhone. I think we know who the winner is. I think we knew who the winner was before we asked the question. Yep. All right. Last episode, I had a little thing where I mentioned the song Come Together, the Beatles song. And because I think you said the term. I don't know how we got on the subject, John. It was one of those weird little tangents. But I mentioned that Come Together was the campaign song for someone. And listener Bruce came up with the answer. Bruce, of course, said he heard it on Wikipedia or read it on Wikipedia. But that's John Lennon singing the lyrics to his campaign song for none other than Timothy Leary. John, believe it or not, Timothy Leary asked Lennon to write a song for his campaign for governor of California against Ronald Reagan, which ended very, very quickly when he was sent to prison for possession of cannabis. He tried to flee to Mexico, I think, but it didn't work. So as John Lennon says, according to Wikipedia, the thing was created in the studio. It's gobbledygook. Come Together was an expression that Leary had come up with for his attempt at being president or whatever he wanted to be. And he asked me to write a campaign song. He says, I tried and tried, but I couldn't come up with one, but I came up with this. So there you go. Yeah, fun. So nice job, Bill. Nice job, Bruce. Sorry. Had Bill.
Yeah, didn't Timothy also do a lot of traveling? I think he went on a lot of trips.
Yeah, he took a lot of Harvard students on trips too, and which was fine as long as they were grad students. But when they found out that they were undergrads that were part of his psilocybin experiments, that's when I think he and Ram Dass, right? Richard Alpert, before he became Ram Dass, were there doing that stuff, those experiments together. I mean, important work,
kids.
Right, really important work. Like we're finally seeing the therapeutic benefits of that being acknowledged in the scientific community, which is great.
Yeah, I've seen treating PTSD and things like that,
anxiety, depression.
Believe it or not,
the 12. Now we're on a real tangent, but the 12-step program for alcoholism was created by someone, I can't remember his name, but there was 13 steps when he originally created it. And the first step, which has since been deleted from the program, was an LSD trip. That's what helped him change his mind. And when you add that back in, the AA success rate goes from like 40% to 80%. But I digress. There's a great book I recommend by Michael Pollan called How to Change Your Mind. And I will put that in there. So, I think it's really important stuff, especially with, I've been thinking a lot about, mental illness and bipolar and all that stuff, because the show that I mentioned I'm doing called Next to Normal is really about that. And it's a shame that we are still in the world of like treating it in ways that is largely unproductive. But yeah, Prozac would not exist without LSD, believe it or not. In fact, before LSD was discovered, there was no work in the pharmaceutical community to develop any drugs that would change your mood, because they didn't think it was possible until LSD opened that door. So there you go. Anyway, we digress. But I'll put a link to How to Change Your Mind in there. It's a fantastic book. And Michael Pollan is, I think he's done, 8 New York Times bestsellers or something. Excellent author. Really researches his stuff. And that particular book is no different. All right. Moving on, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. GW asks the important questions. Could you guys discuss the difference on iPhone between using the regular site or doing the request desktop version? He says, I was on Southwest Airlines website and I couldn't see some information. But when I called and they told me to use the desktop version, then I could see the information I wanted. Right. So there are many different ways of coding websites. And it is possible as a web developer to build sites that are specifically targeted for mobile users, and then different versions that are specifically targeted for desktop, and a lot of times this makes great sense. And depending on how it's done, sometimes on the iPhone, you can tell it, I want to see the desktop version of this site, not the mobile version. And the way that you do that with iOS, I believe this new one started in 14, but whatever, in maybe it was 13. But anyway, in iOS 14, you tap the little, in the upper left or the left side of the URL bar, there is it looks like, it is 2 A's, a small a and a large A, where you can set the zoom of the page. But in that menu that drops down there is request desktop website. So you can type that, or you can tap that there, and then it will send a request through as though it is Safari on desktop, not identifying itself as Safari on mobile. Now, I will tell you, if it's a website, and Mac Observer is a great example, that uses what's called responsive design, where it doesn't matter what platform you're on. What matters is the width or potentially height of your browser window. Generally, it's done based on width. Then requesting the desktop site versus the mobile site won't change anything because the width of your browser hasn't changed. So know that there is that. But if the developer has said, if I see that you are requesting from a mobile device, I'm going to give you one version. Whereas versus if I see you're requesting from a desktop device, you're going to get another, then that will work. And Southwest is a great example of that. But that's why that exists. That's how it works. And that's why sometimes it doesn't work. Any thoughts on that, John?
Oh, yeah. I see every now and then I'll see this in that I'll get an email that has a link in it on my phone. And when I click on the link, the page comes up and they're using FlySpec 3 for the font. And I'm like, they don't realize I'm on a phone. So
right.
To solve that, maybe request the desktop site, or usually I'll just pinch and zoom to make the letters, legible. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. No, exactly. Pinch to zoom will take care of it too. But you can also, in that same menu, you can crank up the font size, right? Like that's what that's what the A's are there for. So you can crank those, and that I found works really well when, as you said, you're stuck with FlySpec 3. I like that. That's good. All right. You want to take us to Kirit, John?
Why not? Hold on.
We are holding pattern.
All right. Now I got to bring it up in Mail because the color of the letters is.
Oh, our Evernote thing is yeah.
It's in bright green, which is hard to read.
To read. Yeah. Did you find it?
All right. So Carrot says, yes. By now, you must have known that Big Sur 11.1 does not allow SD cards to mount in the Finder. It is there, but you have to find it by the Finder preferences and clicking external CD, etc., and mount on desktop, then eject it after using. Most of us do not like the clutter, and we like to see the Finder, which this does not happen. If you change the name to something like Sony from Untitled, then it mounts. But if you do every time you reformat the card in the camera, which is every time it becomes Untitled and invisible again. Any thoughts? Yes. So, one, I was unable to reproduce this behavior. In that when I insert my camera's SD card into my Anchor dock, I got a couple of different docks, plugged in my MacBook Pro 16-inch. After a moment, No Name appears in the locations sidebar on the desktop and on the desktop. And if I click on my computer, JB MacBook Pro in the sidebar, No Name is also listed. And then I asked if he, no. So let's see. So he has he has the same machine that I do, and he has a CalDigit dock. And then we concluded that was not it. So I think what solved the problem for him is that I think some options changed in so if you go to the Finder, Dave, there's Finder Preferences General.
Okay.
And there's external disks. So I think so that's one place where you can say, hey, have this thing show up.
Right.
And then there's also another one. Let's see. Also in preferences, there's sidebar locations, and I also see it there. So there are a couple of settings in the Finder preferences for the sidebar and for just general, where if you don't have a certain box checked, you will not see an SD card being mounted.
Interesting. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, general and then sidebar would be the two places to look. Yeah. Oh.
But I think what he's doing also now is that it will always show up under your machine. So I think that's the route he's taking here. The thing is, I knew it mounted. How do you think I knew how that the card mounted, Dave? Well, that's because Hardware Growler tells me that No Name is mounted. So and I knew that wasn't the problem.
Hardware Growler still works on Big Sur, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because Hardware Growler has been discontinued, right?
It's no longer going to be updated. I think.
Right.
But it works fine under. But it works under Big Sur. It may not work on future versions.
Sure.
But that's another tool. If you want to see what is being mounted or unmounted, whether it be a memory card or a network volume, I find it useful for that.
Nice. Cool. All right. You want to take us to Bruce? I don't think we're going to make it to Wi-Fi today, but we've got two other questions I think we can get through. And then I will put Wi-Fi front and center for next week's show, because we've got a lot of stuff to go through there. Good stuff.
Yeah. All right. So here's another one where I couldn't reproduce the problem. So Bruce says, a client of mine noticed recently that any files on their internal drive whose file title starts with a 0 will not get backed up in Time Machine. They use this file naming convention to have those files sort to the top of their list. Okay. Removing the 0 from the beginning of the file title then has Time Machine back up their file properly. So I guess you could just not do that, but I digress. I've been able to find any articles that talk about this or any other forbidden initial characters and file titles for Time Machine. What do you know about this? I know much about this, as you're going to see in a moment here. So I was able to find any article indicating that there are any forbidden characters in a file that you want to be backed up to Time Machine. However, Time Machine does have an exclusion list, which you may not know about, Dave, or I think you do.
I only know about it because you told me about it this morning. So this is I get to count this as one of my 5 new things because I learned it because of the show. So there you go.
So I created a file, began with 0, backed it up file to my Time Machine installation. So, but again, there is an exclusion list. A list of files that Time Machine will not back up is located in System, Library, Core Services, backupd.bundle, Contents, Resources, STD, which I'm pretty sure means standard, standard exclusions.plist.
So you don't have to remember that, folks. I pasted it into the show notes for you. Yeah.
But yeah, that's a list of files that Apple thinks Time Machine doesn't need to back up. So maybe somebody's playing a trick on you, or maybe someone or something edited that file, is the best guess I have.
Yeah, that's a fascinating file to look through regardless, just to know what it's not going to do. Mobile or .mobile backups, .trashes, desktop DB, backups.backup DB, right? So Time Machine stuff doesn't get backed up again. Really smart. Seriously, like you can look through this list and see, oh, this is somebody did some thinking, or somebody ran into a problem and then added it to the list. A lot of things in private var so that you're not backing up like your virtual memory files. It doesn't back up caches or logs. Like it's a fascinating file to look through. Interestingly, Mail's envelope index is not included in backups, which means if you were to restore all of Mail from Time Machine, it would re-index it, which honestly is really smart. It's data that can be recreated. It does take a little time, but if part of the reason that you like wiped and restored was because you were having a problem, like that might help. So yeah, fascinating. That's good. Great. All right.
Yeah. In other news, I actually was having difficulties with my Time Machine from my MacBook Pro.
Okay.
My Synology.
Yep.
So it was always kind of weird. So I decided now with, a dot upgrade of Big Sur, hey, maybe recreate it again. And they must have fixed something that was odd with my system. Before, it would report. It would not report the amount of data available out of. So I allocate, I think, 4 terabytes.
Okay.
For my Time Machine.
Yep.
Which is I have 1 terabyte SSD almost full. So that's my guideline. Some people will multiply it by 2.
Sure.
I decided to do it by 4 since I have almost too much free space.
Right.
on my Synologies. But this time around, when I recreated the Time Machine backup, I think the last time I did it, it reported that there was a problem with it. But this time around, I figured, you know what? Let me give it another go because it was acting weird.
Yeah.
It now reports. It now sees the 4 terabyte quota that I allocated now,
nice.
So it's reporting it correctly.
Oh, that's good.
Something that wasn't working quite right and may have been corrupting the backups. Looks to be better. So
interesting. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's sort of the point of the updates, right? Is they fix these things. So now I just got to figure out how to get my laptop back to 11.1 so I can put it on 11.2 and not 11.3. I need it. Anyway, maybe that's what I'll do while watching the Super Bowl today. Because we record this on Sundays. All right. One last question from Mike. He says, I want to remove an app from my Mac, or if I want to remove an app from my Mac, Apple and others' advice is to simply drag the app icon to the trash, but this does not seem to remove all the associated files, taking up storage space. My Air only has 256 gigs. A third-party app seems to be able to do this, but all of them need full disk access. Since I'm not a developer or know who to trust, I don't know if giving someone full access is a good idea. Do you guys have a recommendation for cleaning things out? I prefer not to install a third-party app. Is there a terminal command that will delete apps and their associated files? So the answer is that this is not a simple issue because Apple doesn't track what files an app creates, right? So it doesn't know that this specific folder in, user library application support was created by that specific app that you're deleting. So Apple stays out of this game. And no, there is no terminal command to just magically fix this, at least none that I know of. If you know of one, please feedback@macgeekgab.com. Let us know because this is important information. Don't you think, John?
Yes, and it's important that you pay attention when Dave says feedback@macgeekgab.com.
Yeah, please, feedback@macgeekgab.com. So let us know. There are a couple apps that I use to keep cruft off my computer. The first is Hazel. Hazel front and center is an automation app that basically watches folders and then does things. So, for example, I have a Hazel rule on my podcast audio folder that any file matching a certain file name structure and is older than 2 weeks old, archive it off to my disk station. So that way I'm not just filling up my local drive with the files that we're recording today, right? So that's what Hazel does. It's watched folders done the right way, which is great. But it also has an app cleaner built into it so that when I do what you talk about, Michael, where I drag an app to the trash, it pops up and says, hey, I noticed you just dragged an app to the trash. Here's all the files I know to be associated with this app. Do you want to delete them? And then I can check, I can, manually specify which of them I want to delete. And it could be all or none or, some subset in between. There are other apps that do this too. I just happen to be running Hazel all the time. So it's, it serves dual purpose for me. App Cleaner is another one that I use if I want to manually do it, but again, I have to remember to use App Cleaner, whereas Hazel has just got my back all the time. So I tend to prefer Hazel. Go ahead, John.
Yeah. No, it's one of the few apps where one of the first things I do when I set up a machine is put an alias to App Cleaner on the desktop.
Interesting. Yeah.
Because they like other programs, they have done lots of research and know where to look for the little bits and pieces that often get left behind if you just throw away the app.
Right. That's right. Well, but here's my problem with App Cleaner. If I throw away the app and then go run App Cleaner, it doesn't help me because I can't tell it go and delete files that are related to. I would love something that would go and delete files that are related to apps that I no longer have. And I haven't found a way for App Cleaner to do that.
No.
Okay. So
no, I'm not aware of that either.
Yeah. So I mean, you'd have to reinstall the app and then delete it again for it to say, let me go do this, my job here. So earlier this week, I ran for the first time in a long time, John, I ran Clean My Mac X's system junk feature, which is the first one in the list on the left. Normally with Clean My Mac X, I'm running Space Lens, which tells me where my space is being used. But I ran the system junk thing and I knew that it was going to show me a list before it deleted anything. And I also know that like I can with Hazel, I can granularly, check boxes and it showed me a lot of things that were taking up like space and just like we talk about cruft. And I probably cleaned out thousands of files, but I also cleaned out probably, another 15 gigs or something that I would not have found with Space Lens because I didn't know where to look. So I'm using Clean My Mac 10 system junk, which also then does some leftover deletion stuff, which I really like. So that's one of my new sort of go-to run every 6 months, but between us, I'm only running it every 6, or I say run every 3 months, but I'm only going to run it every 6 because I forget. So yeah, there you go. And Clean My Mac, also, if you let it run in the background, will do the same thing as Hazel. And when you delete an app, it'll jump up and say, hey, you want me to go and clean that, stuff up behind you. And obviously, again, you get that granular option. So yeah, I think Hazel App Cleaner, although it's very manual and you have to not forget to use it. So that's why I don't like App Cleaner as much, because it requires a change in workflow, whereas Hazel and Clean My Mac will just cover your, they got you covered. So, but anyway, if you forget, Clean My Mac also can do that, find the leftovers. So yeah. It says, and Warren points out that Clean My Mac specifically has this feature, which I didn't know. If you go into Uninstaller and choose Leftovers, it will go and find all those leftovers. So there you go. And also App Trap. Alex in the chat room says App Trap detects when an app is moved to the trash and immediately prompts the user to trash all that other stuff. But he says App Trap can solve that issue. Okay. It's like Hazel or it's the on the fly thing. All right. Well, we'll put App Trap in the list too. That's great. Excellent. So So there you go. Do you use is App Cleaner the only thing you use, John, or do you have anything that like watches in real time?
That's pretty much the only one I use.
Okay. Well, I'd be curious if because you have Clean My Mac X, right? It's part of setup.
Yeah, I ran it. I ran it the other day, and I think I wasn't happy with what it came up with.
I'd be I'd be curious if what it shows for leftovers for you. And when you say you weren't happy with what it came up with, are you talking about the system junk thing?
Yeah. I'll give it another whirl.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely went through the list and there were immediately some things I unchecked. Like, no, please don't delete that. But that's fine. I'd rather have it find more than find less. It was easy to go through and like uncheck a few of them. But after I unchecked a few, it was like, well, the rest of these, yeah, this can go. I'm ready. It's fine. Yeah. So, but there you go. There you go. All right. Well, that's what we got for today. We're out of time here. I mean, it's how it goes. We all got to learn our 5 things and then some. This is good.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Any final thoughts, Mr. Braun, before we pull the ripcord on this one?
Nope.
Okay. Thanks to all of you for listening. Thanks to everybody for sending in all your questions and your tips and your cool stuff found. This is what keeps the show going forward. Thanks to all of our premium listeners. We're short on time, so I will thank you in the next episode. We will also do Wi-Fi in the next episode. But I will thank you by name. I am thanking you now en masse. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to everybody who visits our sponsors. Brian Monroe is pointing out something. I thought it was a shortcut, but he says there is also CC Cleaner. Or C Cleaner. I don't know about C Cleaner, which is why I thought it was like he was typing a shortcut for I don't know. I'm not sure what I thought it was. CCleaner.com. I will put it in the list for uninstalling app crap. Uninstalling app corrupt. All right. So that's there. I don't know what C Cleaner does, but it sure looks like it does a lot of the things that we need. So thanks, Brian Monroe. That's excellent. Thanks, everybody, for sharing the show and telling your friends about it. Thanks to all of our sponsors, of course, linode.com/MGG, barebones.com, audible.com/MGG, sunbasket.com/MGG. Thanks to everybody in the chat room at live.macgeekgab.com. You help with everything that we do. It's excellent. Really nice to have all this stuff coming in real time. It's good. Thanks to all of our sponsors in the podcast marketplace, Smile, OWC, Eero. Thanks to Cashfly for providing all the bandwidth to get the show from us to you.
And Dave, with the game today, there's one thing that you want to make sure of, and that's when you throw the ball, it doesn't get caught.
Wait, no, they want it to get caught, right?
Oh, right. Sorry.
I think that's how it works. Yeah. All right. See you next time.
Made on back.
And we're out. Cool. Because of the snowstorm.
Want to make sure the other team
doesn't
catch the ball.
That's right. That's what you need. There you go. Yeah, and the snowstorm, our matinee for today was canceled, which is shocking to me. Because I don't know. I don't think we're supposed to get that much.
I'm looking now, and now the road's clear. No, it's not coming down like it was last time.
Yeah. Let me look in my driveway here and see.
I mean, that last storm, we got like over a foot.
Yeah, snow is coming down, but not much. Yeah. Yeah, we didn't get quite as much as they predicted for us on the last one, but it was enough. I mean, it was like 8-10 inches or whatever, which doesn't, I mean, once it's above like 6 inches, it doesn't really matter. So,
yeah.
Yeah, good point, Alex. So the issues that I was having, I did not have last week. I had 2 weeks ago and in shows prior. And I don't think it's a hardware thing with this computer. I think it is/was an issue with Mimo Live. I made some changes to my, I slimmed down my Mimo Live session file. I think it might have been a memory leak in some ways that was causing things to crash. And possibly it might be several different types of memory leak actually is what it was. Really, the thing that would cause problems is, I make the movies for the sponsors, right? So that I can like do this, play the sponsor. If I have that layer selected, it will preview the layer. And so the movie, if I had that just selected, is sort of the next thing queued up. It's right now, it's playing that movie. You don't see it, but it's auditioning it so that I can see it there. And I think, when that movie is playing on a loop for an hour or whatever, I think there was some memory leak there, or maybe that was overloading the GPU because it was trying to do all of this stuff that it's doing now, plus, looping this sponsor movie and literally displaying it on the screen. So I think that some combination of that was the issue. I did two things, which I know is terrible for troubleshooting because you're never supposed to do two things at once because you don't know what fixed it. But I did two things. Number one, I removed there was a known memory leak in the built-in web browser of Mimo Live. It has its own little web browser thing, which I was using for a little while when I was like making the sponsor things. But now I use a window capture to just capture a Safari window or an Edge window or something. And so they said remove but I had left the layer just in the project for the built-in web browser. And they're like, oh, no, that's bad. I'm like, well, then you should take that out. So I removed that. And then I just make sure that I never leave the sponsor movie up. And I can check, there's like a performance monitor that shows what layers are active and live. And I just keep an eye on that to make sure I don't forget and leave it just running in the background. So how did I reach that conclusion? The sponsor thing is a gut feeling. And I've known this for a while. Anytime I leave it on that, I feel like Mimo Live is touchy. And so, I trust my gut on that. But the web browser thing, the developers at Boinks told me, they were like, dude, don't have that. Like, then you shouldn't let us. Mm-hmm. It's cool. Anyway, it seems 2 weeks in a row, knock on wood, we've had flawless. So, I don't know. There you go. But it is time. Right? Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Okay. Well, thanks, folks. I will close out the Facebook stream. We'll see you next time. Thanks. Later. And I will close out the YouTube stream. Thanks. Later. We'll see you next time.